few years ago, I was renting a house in Northern California. The neighborhood was just outside the suburbs, a good balance of space and nearby neighbors. There were no streetlights, so on cloudy nights it got pitch black, but I liked that. It made the place feel even cozier. One cloudy winter evening, I got home after a long shift with overtime. As I stepped out of the car, I caught a strange whiff of cigarette smoke, something I'd never smelled around my property before. I glanced around but didn't see anyone, so I brushed it off and went inside. I was exhausted, so even though it wasn't 7 yet, I showered and went to bed early. Sometime later, I woke up to a noise from inside the house. I wasn't too alarmed at first. My friend sometimes used my shower on the way to night classes, and he had a spare key, but he always texted first. I reached for my old phone on the bedside table. The screen lit up way too bright in the darkness. I squinted. It was a little after 9, but I didn't see any new texts. I called out my friend's name. Silence. Then, loud, rapid footsteps downstairs. I jumped out of bed and ran to my closet. Whoever it was, they were already charging up the stairs. I barely made it into the closet and reached for the attic access. The house had 3 rooms upstairs, 2 bedrooms and a bathroom at the end of the hall. I heard the person storm past my door and into the bathroom. That gave me just enough time to pull myself up into the attic. As I was hoisting myself up, I heard the bathroom door swing open. Then my bedroom door crashed in. I was crouched just a foot or so from the attic opening, listening. Heavy footsteps entered my room, then retreated. They checked the spare room next. It only had a few boxes, some weights, and a small table where I painted models. They must have assumed someone would hide in the main bedroom because they came storming back and turned on the light. Seconds later, the closet door flew open. From my angle in the attic, I could only see the lower part of their legs, worn-out work boots and dirty jeans with frayed cuffs. After a few seconds, they stepped back. Then came a loud crash. They'd flipped my bed, followed by a guttural, angry scream. That sound was the most chilling part of the whole night. It reminded me too much of my stepfather's outbursts before he was institutionalized for violent episodes. The intruder ran back downstairs. I heard things smashing, furniture getting thrown. I stayed crouched in the attic, motionless. My phone was still in the bedroom and I wasn't sure I could climb down quietly. I counted slowly to 1,000 before daring to come down and use the landline by the bed to call the police. The house was wrecked. My bed had been flipped, chairs knocked over, the sofa on its side, books and decorations thrown everywhere. In the kitchen, cupboards were open, food scattered across the floor. But strangely, the only thing missing was a single knife from the block. The police searched the property. The side door had been pried open, probably with a crowbar. They also found cigarette butts, foil, and a hollow pen tube along the fence, common signs of meth use. That's when I realized he'd probably been out there smoking when I got home. The police advised me to stay elsewhere for the night and fix the door right away. Instead, I stayed up all night, blocking the broken door with a shelf and cleaning what I could. I kept shining a flashlight toward the fence line, hoping I wouldn't see anything. And I didn't. The next day, I got the door repaired and installed motion lights on the sides and back of the house. I ran a phone line into the attic, too. I never wanted to be stuck up there without a way to call for help again. I lived there for another 3 years after that, no further incidents. But I never forgot that night. To this day, I still practice getting from my bed into the attic, or now, into the crawl space at my new place, as fast and quiet as I can. I don't like to think about what could have happened if I'd hesitated even a few seconds. This happened a few years ago. I live alone with my 2 cats in a flat. It's technically a first-floor unit, but the front door is at street level. You open it, head up a short flight of stairs, and you're inside the flat. There's no garden, no backyard, just a plain front door that opens right onto the street. I'm in my mid-30s, female, small and petite, and apparently still look young enough that I get ID'd for cigarettes and alcohol. I smoke, but only outside by the front door, even if it's raining. It's a decent area, not rough, and people often use my street as a shortcut. Since I'm usually out there for a smoke, I'm kind of a familiar face. People say hello in passing. Nothing ever felt sketchy. Now, my building isn't the nicest. It's just my flat and one other in that particular stretch, and it sticks out because the rest of the neighborhood is made up of really nice homes. Fancy cars, well-kept flowers, that kind of thing. You can tell I'm the odd one out. It's obvious I'm not doing as well financially. A few weeks before this incident, I started noticing something weird. I'd hear my front door handle move, like someone was trying to open it. At first, I figured it was just school kids messing around, but it didn't stop. I'd hear it in the afternoon, then again in the evening. Every time I checked, no one was there, just silence and an empty street. Then came the night I won't forget. I had my usual last smoke around 11:30, then went upstairs and went to bed. I fell asleep quickly. At some point later, I woke up faintly because I could hear the cats playing. I rolled over, half asleep, but something didn't sit right. The cats were growling, but they were lying in bed next to me. That's when I fully woke up. The sounds weren't coming from the bedroom, they were coming from downstairs, near the front door. I sat upright and listened. The cats were growling low and steady. I crept out of bed, into the hallway, and slowly moved toward the stairs. When I peeked down, I could clearly see the door handle turning. For a split second, I froze, then without thinking, I flipped the switch and turned the stairway light on. There was a pause. The door was cracked open a few inches, and then I heard someone run off into the night. I ran down, slammed the door shut, locked everything, and bolted back upstairs to call the police. It was just past 1 a.m. when I called. They didn't show up until 5 a.m. I didn't sleep. I didn't move from the chair I dragged over to face the stairs. I didn't even dare go outside for a smoke, even though I wanted one badly. I just sat there, listening, watching, waiting for them to come back. When the police finally arrived, they inspected the door and showed me how the intruder had forced it open. The frame was damaged, and the rubber or plastic door seal had been cut and peeled away. I called my landlord first thing that morning and had deadbolts installed immediately. Ever since then, I've changed my habits. I never smoke right in front of the door anymore. I take a little walk instead, and I don't keep to the same time every night. And I always pay attention to my cats. If they growl now, I listen. No questions. If they hadn't growled that night, I would have just gone back to sleep, and I try not to think about what would have happened then. Waking up to someone already inside? That's a thought that still makes my skin crawl. So, to the stranger who tried to come in while I was sleeping, let's never meet again. This happened when I was in college. I lived in Isla Vista, the student town next to UCSB, a place well known for wild parties and nonstop chaos. I like to have fun, sure, but this place, it was something else entirely. People drank too much, left doors unlocked, and got careless. The whole area had this strange insulated vibe, and anyone who wasn't college-aged immediately stood out as weird or out of place. One night, after a few drinks, I came back to the small house I shared with two other girls. It was around 2:30 in the morning. We were all pretty serious about school, at least compared to the rest of the area, so our gatherings were usually low-key. That night, my roommates had a few people over I didn't know. When I got home, I noticed someone lying on the couch in the dark. I didn't turn on any lights, not wanting to wake anyone up, but I saw the outline of a person and figured it was one of their friends spending the night. As I walked past the couch, something felt off. The guy was lying way too stiff, almost like he was concentrating on holding still. I paused, and right then he snapped his head toward me. Just his head. His limbs didn't move. His wide, staring eyes caught the faint light in the room. It made me flinch, but I figured maybe he was high or couldn't sleep or something. I didn't ask questions. I went straight to my room and locked the door. I fell asleep, but around 4:30 a.m., something woke me up. There was a faint tapping on my door. At first, it sounded like someone lightly drumming their fingers. Then I heard slow scratching, which grew louder. It built up until whoever it was started furiously clawing at my door with both hands. It was loud, unrelenting, and terrifying. I grabbed my phone and texted one of my roommates. "Your friend is freaking me out. Is he on something? Can you please talk to him? He's scratching and banging on my door." No response. I texted my other roommate too. Still nothing. The scratching kept going. He started jiggling the doorknob hard like he was trying to open it. I was too scared to make a sound, but I knew I had to do something. Finally, I made a phone call to wake one of them up. My roommate answered, groggy. I whispered, "Hey, your friend is seriously scaring me. Should we call the cops? He's been scratching at my door for minutes." There was silence. Then she said clearly, with no sleep in her voice, "What friend?" "The guy sleeping on the couch," I replied. "We didn't have any guys over," she said. "Call the police." My heart dropped. I told her to lock their bedroom door right away. Then everything went quiet. I didn't know where the guy had gone. Seconds later, loud bangs came from the other end of the house. I heard my roommate screaming. He was now trying to break their door down. I immediately called 911. While I was on the phone with the dispatcher, I could hear the heavy, violent pounding from the other end of the house. The dispatcher stayed on the line, trying to keep me calm. Suddenly, it got quiet again. I glanced at the bottom of my door, and that's when I saw it. His fingers were sliding under the narrow gap beneath the door, slowly wiggling like he was trying to grab something. He was making a low, guttural growling sound. I screamed and jumped back. To this day, I still regret not stomping his fingers while I had the chance. A few minutes later, I heard him bolt toward the back. The sliding glass door opened and slammed shut. By the time the cops arrived, he was gone. He'd broken in through a side door, somehow jimmying the lock. My bedroom door was covered in deep gouges, marks he'd made with a pair of scissors he left behind. What haunts me the most is realizing I looked him in the face. When I passed him on the couch, he wasn't high or asleep. He was hiding, lying completely still, hoping I wouldn't notice. He must not have expected another girl to live there and tried to blend in with the shadows. He wasn't there to party. He wasn't there by accident. He was waiting.